Hi, Lawrence LeBrocq, Managing Partner of Garces, Grabler, and LeBrocq. Welcome to Victim to Victory, Triumph Over Tragedy. Today, we have the privilege of having Dr. Paul Wichansky with us. He's going to talk a little about overcoming cerebral palsy. So, Paul, when did they first diagnose you, or when did you first realize you were a little different, or your parents realized it? How did this occur?
That's a good question, Mr. LeBrocq. I was first about maybe 2, 3 years old when I was in a wheelchair. I couldn't walk at all. My mom took me to about 7, 8, 9 doctors all over New Jersey. Most doctors took one look at my feet like this and said, "I'm sorry, Mr. Wichansky, there's really nothing we could do. Paul will never be able to learn to walk." And then the 10th doctor had a different attitude. He was more uplifting. And he convinced my mom that, you know what, with intensive therapy and braces on his legs, maybe we could get Paul's feet to face forward. And if we could do that, there's a chance that he'll be able to learn to walk. And my mom heard that chance. It was like optimism, hope. She never gave up, and she never gave up on me. And my parents, my dad also played a role. He inspired confidence and motivation, but he was very difficult to please. You know, he would not, when I achieved something that I was proud of, he would say, "Good job," but he wanted me to be a little unsatisfied. So he said, "Good job, now go to the next goal, raise the bar, see what else you could do." You know, but he wouldn't tell me to be unsatisfied. But that's what he did. And the combination of both my parents encouraged me to be the best I could be.
Well, you've made some great strides. Obviously, you're a doctor. But let's take you through that path and how things changed. So you're 3 years of age, and you started speaking at 10 years of age. Is that correct?
Yes, that's
All right.
correct.
So when did they start with the braces, and how did that progress? You know, you started with braces at 3 years of age?
The braces came on about 3 years of age, 4 years. And 4 years was when I started learning to walk.
Right.
My mom took me into a toy store. I got lost. I actually got lost in a toy store. My mom was thrilled I got lost, which is really unusual. Because for the first time in both of our lives, I walked away from her. That never happened before. And she finds me looking up at all the car models, you know, the ones you snap together when you're very young.
Yep.
So I love cars. I love building car models. My mom was proud because she realized that I had achieved a good victory, a small achievement in learning how to walk. And that's part of your book's name, Victory.
Right. And that's a huge victory. Now, I'm not completely unfamiliar. My dad's best friend, when I was a kid, had cerebral palsy as well. And he used to walk on the Jerry Lewis telethons. And he battled with it, had the braces on his legs. And, you know, it's very difficult to be a kid because kids are cruel. So how did you overcome and deal with that and then become a speaker at the age of 10 to start speaking?
At the age of 10, my first presentation was in my own grade school. And I encouraged the audience, the students, to try on my braces. They quickly became not interested.
Right.
All right? So they just focused on the person behind the disability. And I shared with them my hobbies, my interests, showing them that I could do stuff that when you take the word disability, the first 3 letters drop out. What are you left with?
Ability.
Exactly. Everyone has abilities, but not everybody focuses on them. If we focus on our abilities and what we can do, we can overcome amazing challenges. Right. Just have the confidence to do that and optimism. And that's how dreams become reality.
So I saw one of your statements is you shouldn't think, why me, but why not me? And
exactly.
Talk about that a little bit. What does that mean to you, and what do you want that to mean to other people that have a disability or a challenge? Because, like you said, you can take the dis out of there, and what abilities do you have? Because we all have disabilities. We're all challenged in a way. It may not be physical, it could be mental, it could be emotional. So how do you express that, and what does that mean to you when you say, why not me?
Exactly. I wouldn't call myself a victim. I would call it a transformative moment where I was 15 years old and I was visiting a cathedral in Montreal, in Canada, and they had braces and crutches all over the walls and ceiling inside that cathedral. I was wearing my leg braces at the time, and I hated them. So I saw a little space on the wall there. I had an idea to leave my braces. I took my braces off and left them in one of the pews and was able to walk down the stairs. There's 40 stairs at that cathedral without wearing my braces. And St. Joseph was guiding my legs. It was St. Joseph's Oratory. That was the name of the church. And when I got there, on the bottom of the stairs, my mom was chaperoning the event, along with several other parents. She said, "Paul, why are the braces on your legs?" "Mom, I want to leave them in the church." "We can't do that. They cost $1,000. You still need to wear them." I still need to wear them for one more year. But on the same date, 1 year later, my orthopedist finally decided, "Paul, you don't need to wear these braces anymore. I'm taking them off for a trial period, 6 months. During this time, I want you to focus on the way to walk." So when I went home with Mom, that was the last time I asked myself, why me? Why do I have this disability? Why not somebody else? And then I realized, isn't that a negative attitude? Isn't that selfish? We should not think like that. We should think, why not me? Our challenges don't emotionally paralyze us, but we have them to help us discover that all life is ours, to love, to live, to conquer and treasure, to treasure life the way we were made in His image.
You've been speaking. Do you speak around the country? Do you speak? It's amazing because we have Eric LeGrand on the podcast. He was paralyzed. He was a Rutgers football player who was paralyzed from the neck down. And he always has a smile on his face. I walked in here, met you for the first time. You smiled at me, you said hello, and you seem like you have a very upbeat personality. I love to see that. I've never seen Eric without a smile on his face, although it takes him 2.5 hours to get ready in the morning just to start his day. So explain to people what you go through on a daily basis and what's become your norm.
Well, my normal day for speaking day is that I get up at 3 a.m. in the morning. I leave home about 3:45 and get to a school in North Jersey or South Jersey first I get to the area at about 5 o'clock, 5:30, and then I hit Starbucks just to have a relaxing breakfast, just to be near the school instead of sitting in traffic. And then I go to school about 7:30, 8 o'clock with a big smile on my face and a bright attitude, ready to seize the day and help teens and special needs kids like me and children overcome their challenges like bullying and prejudice. So after my assemblies, I often have a line of students, some with tears in their eyes. And some of them hug me, and they end up bawling. And I just explain to them that those are tears of joy and happiness. Because you are happy when your disabilities just evaporate, and you realize how strong you are inside and how powerful you can be with never let your attitude become a disability. It's all that you believe in yourself and the beauty of your dreams. And then I have a maximum of 2 assemblies per day, so I'm always finished by lunchtime. And I go on the turnpike or parkway in the middle of the day. There is no traffic. So I don't sit in traffic. And I just asked when you came in if you had any traffic. Because if you go 2 miles an hour slower than the other cars around you, there's never any traffic in front of you.
That's true.
It's always behind you. But think about that. Think about being positive, leaving earlier than you think you need to arrive. So you arrive refreshed, with no anxiety.
Yeah. Well, I used to use that philosophy when I first started clerking. I was clerking for an all-Harvard law firm. I don't know why they had me clerking there, but I didn't go to Harvard, that's for sure. And I was clerking there, and I would be the first one to arrive because I lived in South Jersey, and this law firm was up in North Jersey. So I had to travel. I wanted to beat the traffic. So if I left my house before 6:45, I'd get there in 45 minutes. If I left at 7:10, I wouldn't get there for over 2 hours. So they thought I was the greatest associate in the world because I was always the first one there. And then I would leave at about 7 o'clock every night because I wouldn't hit any traffic then, because if I left at 5:30 or 6, I would have been sad. I wouldn't get home till 9 anyway. So by leaving later, I got home at the same time, and it just looked fantastic, but there's no stress involved. So that's a huge advantage. So how often do you speak?
Well, my schedule is really fragmented. I speak during the fall and spring, not around the holidays, but sometimes school wants me during the holidays for family, the strength of family and faith and forgiveness. And other times I speak during the spring and fall. Summer is my time off. But I speak for the New Jersey State Police during the summer because they have a program called Trooper Youth Week.
Mm-hmm.
And even some students from Point Pleasant here go to Trooper Youth Week. And for them to be in my audience is it's an honor. It's an honor. And I talk about leadership, resilience, which a lot of teens do not know how to bounce back. So I just demonstrate using examples and stories because everybody loves to hear stories.
Sure.
Nobody likes to be talked down to.
Right.
So I share stories with them and let the audience interpret what those qualities are. That's the key.
Well, tell us, you told us your story about going to the church and seeing the crutches and canes on the walls and overcoming that a year later, even though you probably could have gotten rid of those. I think you have the spirit that you could have probably walked out of there, but you did the right thing. You listened to your doctors and kept those braces on for an additional year. So you're 16 years of age. Are there any other stories that you can think of that, man, I could just tell by your personality, you don't like to talk about yourself, but some things that you really said, man, I overcame that?
Well, that brings up the idea of perseverance.
Right.
I have a whole chapter about perseverance in my book. And what I like to talk about, everybody likes to hear about this, was my car. It's like a painting to me. And what I did was I have a Honda Accord, but I took off all the Honda emblems and put on BMW emblems to get other drivers smiling because I didn't want to be surrounded by frowns. I wanted every driver to smile and give me thumbs up. So my story is, well, one time I was on the Parkway going southbound after assemblies, after school, day of school assemblies, 2 assemblies. I'm in midday hours. I'm traveling south on the Parkway, and I see in my rearview mirror a driver in a 350Z, a sports car, a red one, getting bigger, bigger, bigger. My lane to my left. So I expect him to blow by me and just pass me, but he doesn't do that. He slows down and matches my speed, then gets behind me, coming up on the right side, then slows down again, gets behind me again, and then he rolls down. His window was tinted, so I couldn't see him. But when he rolled it down, he gave me a big thumbs up and then shoots away. That made me smile. I can't go fast. I don't want to go fast. But the thing is that if you go 2 miles an hour slower than the other cars around you, there's never any traffic in front of you. I said that before, and I should say it again. Think positive when you're driving. If you drive during the summertime and there's traffic, what about the car in front of you getting all the insects that smash into the windshield? And protect your car, keep it cleaner. Why didn't anybody think of that?
Well, that's something that happens down south. You have some big bugs down there. I went to college and law school in the South, and they do have you get some nice impacts. Is there ever been a student that's really impacted you, that you were very proud of a student, what they overcame or their story and told you?
Yes. In fact, in ninth grade, I was having lunch in the cafeteria with my friends. I did not see the senior jock coming up behind me. He actually lifts me up into the air and dumps me in the garbage can in the cafeteria, and then parades me around the cafeteria while I was in the garbage can. I was angry at the time, but I couldn't fight back because he's a football player, big guy. So I got out of the garbage can, I brushed myself off, I went to my principal's office, Mr. Hayden, and I explained to Mr. Hayden what went on in the cafeteria, but I added, please don't get the jock in trouble. Do not punish him. So I asked for leniency, and Mr. Hayden suspended him for 3 days. I didn't know this. 20 years later, the same person, the same former jock, finds me on Facebook, does not add me as a friend. Instead, he sends me a message, profusely apologizing for his actions all those years ago, because he has kids now, or teens, and he understands that what he did was so cruel. And he ended the message by saying, Paul, if you forgive me, please add me as a friend. I smiled and I clicked add friend. People can change when we become educated about the differences we all share. And those differences should be celebrated, never ridiculed. When you forgive someone, you're releasing all the anger, all the hate, and it takes courage to forgive someone who hurt you in the past. But when you do that, you realize life is so much better, because forgiveness is also a two-way street. What I also need, there was also another person I needed to forgive, the 15-year-old me. I had no right to let somebody else take my power, to make me feel unwanted, unloved, And even if I was angry, I forgave myself. And it's a huge feeling of positive, of optimism when you forgive someone.
That's amazing, because it doesn't matter what somebody else does. You can only control your emotions. You can't control what somebody else does.
They could either accept the forgiveness, which hopefully they will, or just reject it, but it has no bearing on you.
True.
It has no bearing on your attitude.
It's very true. And that goes for adults as well. In relationships, sometimes people have to understand that it's not them. Sometimes it's just the other person. And you can't internalize that and let that damage you as a human being.
Exactly. Sometimes it's a divorce or a relationship problem or abuse or assault. But you have to forgive, because it's keeping you from reaching goals. It's keeping you angry, and it's not a good way to live at all. And just be happy. And the way to be happy is to forgive someone who hurt you in the past. I think forgiveness is an act of love. You are giving yourself that gift of love. And it's so powerful. It's one of the most powerful qualities that we have in life. It's underused. Everybody is so divisive these days, everything, even politics.
Oh, yeah.
But we need to respect the other point of view. We can disagree, we can love them from a distance, but it's important to respect all views.
It's funny you say that. I always say that intelligent people can disagree. That's why we have a conversation to talk about that. And you don't need to sway the other person. Just respect it. They have an opinion. You don't have to agree with it, and just have a disagreement. But it doesn't.
We might
have
not
to
agree
be,
with everything.
All right, and nobody will. Every person's different, so you're never going to agree on everything. But you try to find a common ground to understand each other and accept each other.
Exactly. Understanding and acceptance.
Well,
That's true of all teens
Right.
and adults too.
Well, you're talking about teens. Now, you and I are a little bit older than teens now. So, and times change. What message do you think really resonates with the generation of teenagers now?
I think it is self-love and withholding love from others. That represents the pain and anger we carry through our life. And when we forgive others and love others for their views and even their diverse views, we take the weight off our shoulders, and it emotionally frees us to be happy and pursue our own dreams. Right. And not worry about what somebody else thinks of us. That's their problem, not ours. See, I have a hearing aid and a cochlear implant. Even if it's big on my ear, I don't worry about what they look like. I'm just able to hear. As far as what they look like, that's somebody else's problem, not mine.
Right.
So it just helps me hear and be able to understand conversation and not worry about looks, except a big smile.
If you talked about perseverance, and it's funny, I'm a big believer that, and when I sign books that say grit is omnipotent, and when perseverance is very similar to grit, it's staying for the long haul, being able to overcome adversity over a long period of time, because life is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And I try to impress that same message upon people. But you do it in a different way. I do it more from an intense overcome it. You do it from an area of love and overcoming and loving yourself and loving others.
Exactly. And you couldn't have said it better yourself. And it turns out that I don't think life is a marathon itself, because I'm not trying to be racing other people. I'm competing against myself.
Every day.
And with that kind of attitude, I actually wrote a book about that. And the book is called Yes, I Can. Because too many people have an attitude that's, no, I can't. And I'm showing them, why be negative when you could rip the T out of the word can't and make it can. Yes, I can. And we all have dreams. We all pursue dreams. And it's our, don't give those dreams to somebody else when they could have been yours.
I agree. I'm going to have to read your book, Yes, I Can. I'm a big believer in, I tell people the reason I don't lose is because I don't quit. I said, if you never quit, it's impossible to lose if you don't give up on your dreams and you keep going after them.
And even if you fail, you found a way that doesn't work.
Right.
You succeeded.
Yes. And then there's always another way. Always another way.
Exactly.
Is there anything else you'd like to add to tell the youth or the adults of today about how they can and how they can overcome and persevere?
Okay. I had this disability my entire life, but as you know, I just focused on my abilities. What can I do? And my disabilities just fall into the background. Even if I have cerebral palsy, the key here is that cerebral palsy does not need to ever have me. With that kind of attitude, we can accomplish anything, any goal, any dream that we have, just by focusing on it, just by remaining focused, because the most successful people in life are the ones that remain focused on their goals. They never deviate from them.
Well, speaking of goals, what are your goals for the future?
Well, my goals, I have 2 goals for the future, is to find a wife. Sorry, kids, you're too young.
Ah.
All right. Find a wife, maybe a single teacher in one of my schools who shares similar viewpoints and everything, and is compatible with friendly people, friendly personality, charming, and just trying to be the best and spread kindness and respect towards others. And my second goal is to perhaps do these assemblies at Walt Disney World. Because remember, we have families who go to Walt Disney World with their parents and kids. If I can reach the parents and kids, that means that future generations will have that seed of positivity to grow from. To realize that, you know what? Think of why not me? Not why me. Just focus on what you can do, not what you can't do.
Thank you. And if somebody wants to get your book, Yes, I Can, how do they find that?
This is available on Amazon, and it's pretty cool to have your name searchable on Amazon. You are familiar with that.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And it's so cool to have Paul Wichansky searchable on Amazon. But I didn't write this for me. It's a love story. It's a love story. My mom sadly passed away about 7 years ago because of multiple sclerosis. She had MS for 30 years. So the book ends with a love letter to her, a love letter to my mom.
That's beautiful. I want to thank Dr. Paul Wichansky for coming with us today on Victim to Victory. He epitomizes triumph over tragedy. Thank you.